right.
And one awkward moment, though, during the game. Maybe you heard about it. Maybe you saw it on one of the highlight reels. One awkward moment for Sarah Palin at the Yankee game. During the 7th inning, her daughter was knocked up by Alex Rodriguez. You can see how that'd be awkward. Now cut that out. Get back in the dugout. The category tonight, top 10 highlights of Sarah Palin's trip to New York City. I didn't even know she was coming. We should have tried to have her on the show.
I know.
That would be great next time she comes. Let's see if we can get her on the show.
Lovely to have
she was here. She was up at Yankee Stadium. Top 10 highlights now of Sarah Palin's trip to New York. Here we go, number 10. Visited New York landmarks she normally only sees from Alaska. Number 8. Laughed at all the crazy-looking foreigners entering the UN. Number 8. Number 8, made moose jerky on Rachel Ray. Number 7. Keyed Tina Fey's car. Number 6. After a wink and a nod, ended up with a kilo of crack. What is that? How did that? Number 5, made coats out of New York City rat pelts. Number 4. Sat in for Kelly Ripa. Regis couldn't tell the difference. At number 3, finally met one of those Jewish people Mel Gibson's always talking about. Number 2, bought makeup at Bloomingdale's to update her slutty flight attendant look. And the number 1 highlight of Sarah Palin's trip to New York, especially enjoyed not appearing on Letterman. Well, there you go.
It remains unclear whether it even matters if Palin or Gingrich is the one doing the actual speaking tonight, with Palin's camp now claiming that a speech of hers last week was not largely plagiarized because she credited 2 lines to her source, Newt Gingrich. Discussing Ronald Reagan last Wednesday, Governor Palin quoted Gingrich twice.
Recently, Newt Gingrich, he had written a good article about Reagan. He said, regarding your dad, Michael, he said that we need to learn from his example that courage and persistence are keys to his historic achievement. What Newt had written in this article, he wrote, remember how refreshing it was with his outrageous directness that Americans loved and craved and deserved that Reagan dealt with then the troublesome Soviet Union. Remember this? His vision for the Cold War, we win, they lose.
The only problem, the article was written by Newt Gingrich and a co-author, Craig Shirley. The only other problem, all the apparent unattributed lines. According to Huffington Post, it included this one from Gingrich and Shirley, quote, Reagan replaced the entire vision of détente with 2 vivid words, evil empire, Palinized.
Speaking of détente, he used 2 words, evil empire.
Quote, Reaganism is about real change both at home and overseas, and that real change requires upsetting the entrenched interests. Palinized.
Reagan knew that real change requiring shaking things up and maybe ticking off the entrenched interest thwarting the will of the people.
And John Zuko joins me now. He's a radio host with KGIL 1260 AM News Radio in Los Angeles, and has previously interviewed Palin and others for his film Media Malpractice, How Obama Got Elected. John, good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Always interesting to go out with the people with Barack Obama's official network.
Now, I know you're very critical of the way that journalists in general have dealt with Governor Palin. I want to ask you today about your interview with Sarah Palin.
Gee, I wonder why.
So let me begin with, do you want to do the interview? You want to talk about this?
Yeah, I'd be thrilled to. Let's go for it.
Let me ask you what Sarah Palin's problem with Letterman was. What was it about the top 10 list that hurt her feelings?
Well, I don't know if her feelings were hurt. You'd have to ask her. She called David Letterman pathetic, which I think was an understatement, because not only did he call her slutty, you left out the part where he also joked about her teenage daughter being knocked up by Alex Rodriguez in the middle of Yankee Stadium while she was at the game. By the way, I also happened to ask her about Keith Olbermann blatantly lying about her allegedly plagiarizing a speech, which she didn't do. I doubt that that'll come up on this particular network.
Well, it's certainly not going to come up other than your mention in this particular interview, because because I want to ask you about David Letterman and Sarah Palin. But again, if you'd like to talk about that, I'm willing to go forward with the conversation. Yes?
I'll talk about whatever you want. Hit me with your best shot.
Good. So in this case, it's comedy. To talk about her real itinerary in New York, it's kind of serious, not really funny. Why did she take such offense? She called him pathetic, so she obviously took offense. Why was she so offended by David Letterman?
Well, Contessa, since you're a female, you might be a better expert on whether or not it's appropriate to call a public figure slutty for no apparent reason, and to joke about her daughter being knocked up in the middle of Yankee Stadium while she's at the game. How would you feel about that, Contessa?
That's actually happened to me, and I'm fine. I'm still here.
Really? David Letterman joked about you being slutty and about your daughter being knocked up?
Not David Letterman, but it's happened to me publicly. Okay, we'll change topics.
Okay.
How about this? We just got a new poll out that shows that a majority of Americans don't know who speaks for the Republican Party. In this case, Sarah Palin, we're showing the people who got some of the responses. You've got Rush Limbaugh and Dick Cheney and John McCain. What about Sarah Palin? Does she feel at all concerned that she's not seen as a voice for the Republican Party?
Let me get this straight. You find this surprising or shocking that because you in the media portray Republicans as old white men, that the public perceives Republicans as old white men, and you destroy in a blatant character assassination Sarah Palin's character, and the public thinks that she's not worthy of that, at least in some terms.
John,
yes,
in your interview with Sarah Palin, did you ask her any tough questions, or are you functioning now as her spokesperson?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you interviewed her. I'm curious about the information you elicited from Sarah Palin.
This was a great interview. I urge anyone who's interested in the real Sarah Palin to go to howobamagotelected.com. You can listen to the whole 16 minutes. One of the questions I asked her was whether or not she felt dissed by John McCain when he went on Jay Leno, also on NBC, back when he was the host of The Tonight Show, and basically dissed her. And surprise, 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 she gave an incredibly classy answer, showing far more class than clearly most people on this network have.
I don't really know what to do with that. You know what? Honestly, I'm here to give you an opportunity. I consider myself a common sense thinker. I haven't attacked you. And for you to come on and use those sort of insults me. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate that.
Okay.
Much more news ahead on it. Cut the mic, please.